Okay, thank you. So, quick welcome to Nick Blythe, founder and managing director of Paella Fella Limited. And we're joined today by Gavin Bellamy, award-winning coach from Action Coach. And what we wanted to do today was just a quick fire Q&A session to really share a few insights of what it means to work with a business coach and how that can help a small business or entrepreneur such as somebody like Nick. So we're going to roughly do sort of 25 minutes and I'll just put a few questions to you guys to really explain how your working relationship has evolved. So let's jump in, and if I can ask you both to introduce yourselves and maybe give us a little insight as to how this relationship formed and how you met would be great. So I'll kick off with you, Nick.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. My name's Nick Blythe. I'm the Managing Director of Paella Fella. We're an event caterer providing premium quality paella and tapas for a range of events, from weddings, private parties and corporate events, anything from 30, 40, 50 people, scaling right up to 200, 300, 400 people at a time. That's pretty much what we do. There you go.
Okay, and how did you meet with Gavin? Sorry, before I move on to Gavin.
How did I meet with Gavin? Oh yes, well, Gavin, I went to a seminar where Gavin was presenting about challenges that entrepreneurs like me face in terms of life, the universe and everything. Some of the things that he was saying at that struck a chord with me, and we just had a conversation afterwards, and I felt that there was some merit in getting together and getting someone that could help take some of my fog of my mind and the plethora of ideas and help me sort of channel some of that mindset and energy and focus it right down and hone it right down. So yeah, that's what came out of that first session. That's what made me think that I needed to talk to Gavin about his services.
Great. Brilliant. And over to you, Gavin, if you want to just give us a quick insight as to who you are and how you've been working with Nick.
Yeah, thank you, Claire. Yes, so I'm Gavin Bellamy. I am a business coach, have an Action Coach franchise. And as part of that franchise, I run various workshops and seminars. Some of them are in partnership. I think the one that Nick attended was a partnership I did with NatWest. We've done a few of those. They're not the only bank that we have partnerships with. And of course, we run our own. So the purpose of those events really is always to get the business owner to to be challenged in their thinking about what running a business is all about and what they want to come out of it. And clearly, as Nick has said himself, we struck a chord there somewhere. And the follow-up procedure was then to have a conversation with Nick, find out a little bit more about his business and whether there was some synergy and how we might be able to help. And the rest is history.
Fantastic. So, I mean, I'm intrigued by this partnership link, and I mean, in this case, it was through NatWest, but there may be kind of other small business owners out there listening to this that have never really considered employing a business coach or working with somebody externally. So how important are those kind of partnerships and events that you run through Action Coach to actually, giving people a little bit of insight into something that they may never have considered to support their business previously?
That's a very good question, actually. I mean, I think it's different for different coaches. For me, I think there is some real synergy with partners because we have similar objectives. So if we take NatWest as an example, I mean, I should say nobody wakes up thinking, I need a business coach in my business. It's not something that's normally going to cross your mind. And the main reason for that is that businesses are built by people who've got a passion for what they do. They're normally technically very good at it. They think because they're technically good at what they do, be it a window cleaner, an accountant, a lawyer, or retail, or whatever it happens to be, then they're going to run a good business. If we take the example of the banks, they're obviously very keen to make sure that their businesses survive. They do well and they thrive. So the partnership works well for them because we can support their clients, we can help them build a better business, make more money, be happier. So the bank obviously would benefit from that as well. So that's why they're keen to engage. And with NatWest and one or two other high street banks, we've got national partnerships. So it's not just something that's run local. I'm quite heavily involved in it. It's actually part of a national program to add value to business owners' businesses and give them some support where otherwise it may not have been forthcoming.
Yeah, so just staying with you for a moment, Gavin, in that sense, if somebody came at this new, having never worked with a business coach, never sort of understood what you would offer, what would you sort of say are the things that a business owner or a small business such as Paella Fella can expect from actually getting into a partnership with someone like you?
I think it's going to be different for different businesses, but really at the core of it is taking the business owner back to that point of why they started their business. And what was it all about in the first place? What did they want that business to be for them? What was the vision? What was the direction? Often, very often, in fact, probably the vast majority of times, businesses do not turn out the way the business owner wants them to. And that's for a variety of reasons. That's because of lack of strategic thinking about the business. It's unhelpful thought processes and belief systems that the business owner may bring in. It may be that whole sense of being overwhelmed in terms of activity and what needs to focus. So where a coach comes in is first and foremost to help the business owner get clarity. And although that may sound the softest reason, that's actually probably the most important reason. That's the starting point. Thereafter, my job is to help them get back to building the business that's going to deliver them the lifestyle and the other personal objectives, family objectives that they want. And perhaps take them a little bit further than that, help them to understand that a business is an asset. It's not just a profit-generating machine. It has value in its own right. So part of my work with business owners is to help them add value so they have something that, should they wish to, they can sell or step back from at a future point. And then on a practical level, what that translates into day to day is more time for the business owner, more efficient business, better systems, better team, better clarity around values, and happier customers.
Yeah, I really like that idea of taking the business owner back to the beginning, which is quite pertinent, Nick, when I think of Paella Fella, because we celebrated 10 years in business last year, and we spent a lot of time going back to the beginning to review, you know, why the business was founded, what were Nick's motivating factors, the story behind Paella Fella. So, I mean, how significant, Nick, has it been for you working with Gavin, going through his coaching process, and what has it kind of given to you personally in terms of, I don't know, just different views and ways of working with your business?
Okay, I think the reality is that this business has grown very, very quickly in a short space of time. 10 years sounds like a long time, but I think in the last 5 years we've had various challenges around, like Brexit and things like that, and they sort of stifled to a point.
Just lost you both. Can you both still hear me? Just give it 1 second, because we seem to have had a slight drop in signal. Can you hear me, Nick? Can you hear me, Gavin? Hitting record. So we were just talking, Nick, about going back to the beginning, understanding what the motivating factors for starting the Paella Fella business were, and then really getting an understanding of how working with Gavin has really brought your business on.
Okay, I think when I went to the seminar with Gavin, I went because my business was, if you like, in a position where I hadn't realised satisfactorily what it was I wanted to achieve out of the business, and I was frustrated, and I think I was in a bit of a fog. And just through the conversation with Gavin, he was sort of asking me quite deep, personal, searching questions about myself and about my business that made me think, well, I don't have all the answers. In that context of not having all the answers, he sort of stripped away some of the layers and some of my thinking, and allowed me to get back to what was it I was trying to achieve. You know, where did I want to go with it, and you know, rethink my business mindset for myself as much as the business. And I think that allowed me it gave me some clarity of thought. It gave me a chance to take a step back quite considerably and have a look at my business and think, right, okay, I do need to make some changes, and probably some of those changes actually need to come with me first. And Gavin has got quite a good insight into me now, and can ask and my business, and doesn't let you off the hook, which is a really good thing. So you feel accountable, and that manifests itself in a way that he will ask me questions and say, that really just get to the nub of the matter and challenge me in my thought processes and my thinking, and enable me to go, oh, actually, that's not maybe the best way of looking at it. I could do it in a different way. And that is really, really refreshing. I mean, it really is refreshing. I mean, and then and then there's always that hackneyed way of looking at things. And I hate using this, but Andy Murray doesn't become the #1 tennis player in the world without having a coach. He's got a coach, hasn't he? And I never had really considered, I need a coach, and you just suddenly realize the value of it is amazing, really. It's liberating, to be honest. And I think it's helped me transform the business and change the focus of the business over the last, 18 months, nearly 2 years now, isn't it, Gavin? Something like that. Yeah. It does, and that seems like a long time. It's not.
Well, I was out of interest just about to ask how long you had been working together, because I don't think that had come up earlier. So it's nearly 2 years now that you've been.
Yeah, I think it was about 18 months actually. I think.
Yeah.
About that.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's interesting, because what I was going to come on was to kind of talk about 2020 and the year that is. And it's really interesting that this working relationship started long before Brexit and COVID kind of implications came into play. And in Brexit really still hasn't been resolved, because we're still waiting for to see what happens there in terms of trade negotiations and agreements, etc. Obviously our focus at the moment is very much on COVID, which has had a huge impact on obviously the catering industry, Nick, for you. And so how has working with Gavin and having this kind of business coaching and mentorship in place really helped you to contingency plan and respond to all of the external factors in the market which are currently affecting your business, Nick?
Okay, that's, I mean, very simply, I think when COVID struck, it was sort of unearthing, or it was all just tumbling together in front of us, and you had no insight. I was going, oh my God, what am I going to do? And literally Gavin was on the phone within a matter of hours saying, don't panic, I've got something for you, you're going to get some value out of this, we'll get a call together, I'm going to bring you together with a few other people in the similar boat as you, and we're going to have a little powwow about this, and I've got some tips and pointers for you. And literally it was enlightening, because Gavin just popped forward this, it was like a blueprint, step-by-step things that you need to consider. Now, there was a lot of them. There's 10, 12 points, I think it was, Gavin. And literally you go through them, and some of them resonate more than others. And you almost sort of pick and choose some of those bits and pieces and basically go, right, fine, that's where I need to focus, because that's relevant to me and that's relevant to the business right now. And I think, had I not had Gavin there helping me, giving me that sort of beacon of light, that guiding light, I would struggle. And it has helped us transform the business in a crisis very, very quickly. And it has helped us, it's helped me engage with my team in a new way and get them on board. So it's not, oh, woe is me, the world is falling apart. It's like, okay, how are we going to take this head on? How are we going to tackle this and really drive it forward, so that when we come out the other side, we're in a better position. And I truly believe that's partially down to Gavin and his coaching.
Yeah, so if I was to flip the question back to you, Gavin, obviously we've heard 2020 has been a challenging year, and I imagine that you're probably coaching businesses across many different sectors, so not just within the catering sector, such as Nick. So how do you coach your clients to respond and evolve? Because there's an evolution, isn't there, to going through a crisis and coming out the other end. So what are your kind of top tips in that respect?
Well, I mean, it starts there actually. The first part is to understand the cycle. And it is a cycle. It's a little bit like the grief cycle when you have a bereavement that people go through. And, as you say, I've actually got clients across a range of sectors. Some of them are, to be fair, are thriving at the moment. They are doing very well. Some of them are in sort of hibernation, they're in stasis. and others are fighting, to keep the business alive and be able to come back. So the first stage is to help people understand those 4 stages. And the first stage is simply the dive phase, where you have very little control over what's happening. Regulations are being passed, people are being told what to do, and you're just kind of looking around saying, well, okay, this is what's happening around me. You then got the survival phase, and survival is very pragmatic, and a lot of the 12 points that Nick referred to were about that. It was about, what does one have to do to ensure that there's a business to come back to, because the customers will come back, albeit they'll come back in a different way. I'll get to that point in a minute, actually. But the survival phase is to ensure that there is a viable business to return. Too many people get stuck there. And that was the lesson of the great financial crisis back in 2008. Those that didn't invest back in their business, they didn't invest in their marketing, they didn't invest in their development, they were the ones that were more likely to collapse and go out of business. And it's seeing similar patterns now, actually. Some of the hardest hit industries are doing the heaviest investing in the future. So you then got the revive stage, and that's about thinking differently about your business. One of the challenges I put to business owners is, look, if you're trying to fight to get your business back to where it was in February, then you're totally misunderstanding what's happening here. What's happened is that this COVID situation has accelerated changes that were already happening in society. How people buy, how people respond to marketing, how people work, all of those sorts of things. And let's be honest, the vast majority of people who own a business are not entirely happy with the shape of the business and where it's going. So this is an opportunity to build a new house on the old foundations. And then finally, you've got the thrive stage, which is about scaling up, being able to break away from being a captive within your own business as a business owner and actually build something that can work without you. And clearly, different people are going to be at different stages and they're going to be at different mindsets. So my job as a coach is simply to help them understand where they're at mentally, where they're at in terms of their business, and help them move to the next level. And Nick, by the way, I liked your reference to Andy Murray and the coach, because the coach is never going to serve a better serve than Andy Murray or play a better game than Andy Murray. But I think Andy would argue that without the coach there at the background, they wouldn't be able to reach their potential. So it's quite an interesting relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like your point about acceleration there that you mentioned. I think for Paella Fella, Nick, it certainly has encouraged you to accelerate plans that were already in the business to launch a home delivery service. So to expand from events and big organised events into a more intimate home delivery and corporate delivery service. And you've managed to do that in quite a quick, turnaround, given the COVID social distancing measures, the fact that people were no longer allowed to congregate in big groups and celebrate events. So how instrumental has all of Gavin's tools and techniques and coaching been really in terms of helping you through the last 3 months and launching that home delivery service?
Well, I think it's fundamental, absolutely part of the foundation, literally, because it was in my mindset to build a home delivery service, but with no other revenue opportunities available, it was obvious I had to do something with it. I literally, Gavin has always been sort of part of the business plan, in the sense that he's always got sight of what I'm doing, challenging what I'm doing, and helping me with those thought processes. And it was just absolutely just like, you haven't got any choice, he said. That's it. You've got to focus on that. You've got to turn your business around literally as quickly as you possibly can. So that's what we've done. And we're still doing it. It's, even though it sounds like we've done it overnight, it's not overnight. It's been 3-4 months now. We're still doing it. We're still learning things very, very quickly. But everyone's on board with it. We're trying to get it to move quicker, and we're very keen to use that as our springboard platform when we come out the other side, basically. So yeah,
it has very much been an evolution, then, in the sense of the Paella Fella business plan.
It's the plan that we had at the beginning of the year and the plan that we have now. the home delivery service was a strand that we were going to start looking at the end of this year, with a view to building it in 2021, off the back of the revenues that we were going to earn in this fabulous year post Brexit.
Yep.
And literally, it's not that way at all. It is literally, right, we've got to knuckle down, make this work, and use this as our platform to build and get that up and running and solid as we can make it, and use that as the foundation to flip the business and the other side of the business back on and switch it back on. And I suspect, I don't know, it's hard to tell, end of this year, sometime next year, who knows, we can't tell. I just don't think the market's ever going to be quite the same again. So, but certainly what we are seeing is that the home delivery side, that, there's everyone is there. They can't go out, they can't have, throng together in the same way as they used to. So they're going, oh, yep, we'll have them bring the party to us. So that's what we're doing, which is great.
Fantastic. So I'm going to put the last question to you, Gavin. I mean, obviously you provide all of your clients with tools, techniques, ways to look at things and obviously sort of focus attentions and priorities. But how satisfying is it for you when you go back to clients and see them actually implementing things that you've talked through together and you've coached them towards doing? And when you see it actually brought to life and implemented with sort of different degrees of success, I would imagine. How satisfying is that for you personally?
Well, that's my why. That's why I do what I do. And I know that sounds like a rather, sort of predictable response. But if you go right the way back, if I go personally back to my previous life as a teacher and one who was taught to coach, actually, interestingly, in my subject, it's always been about seeing people make the choice themselves to put the changes in their life. And although Nick says, I don't let him off the hook and et cetera, ultimately I can't make him do what he wants to do. That has to come through his decision. And if I have inspired him and others to do that, then that's the reward. I'm mindful of one client that I finished working with, and the reason I finished is because the mission was accomplished, and in that particular case, it was the wife of the person who's now running the business, sorry, the mother of the person who's now running the business, who said to me quite simply, I can sleep at night now. And I haven't been able to do that for years. So, when you hear something like that, that's amazing. When a client comes around and says, I'm going to let go of this baggage that's been holding me back, and I'm now going to go out and buy a second business and those sorts of things, then that's the reward for me, is to see people seeing the changes that they want to see for themselves.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Really good to hear that. So we're going to draw to a close now, because it was just a quick Q&A for today. And just to quickly say, this is obviously a recorded webinar. We're going to be putting this up on our social media pages. But if anyone does have any questions for Gavin or for Nick, then please do put it in the comments and we'll make sure that they get answered. It's primarily going to go out across LinkedIn. So you can also find Gavin Bellamy, Action Coach, on LinkedIn and connect with him directly. And likewise, you can connect with the Paella Fella business page and with Nick personally, if you're interested in home delivery, Spanish, paella and tapas. So thank you very much for both of you for joining us today and for this chat.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you very much, Claire. Thank you. Thank you, Gavin, as well. Thank you very much.
So